Okay guys, today's video is going to be about getting the 74 Honda XL250 ready to be stored for the winter. It's getting that time of year where everybody's putting all their summertime toys and lawnmowers into storage, and they won't be started until probably next spring or so. So I'm going to show you what I do to the dirt bike here to get it ready to sleep for the winter. Okay, so the guys over at STA-BIL sent me some products to show you here, and I have been using the STABIL fuel stabilizer for a long time. I know 15 years in my lawnmower and weed eaters and stuff. So, I mean, that's been proven to me. I use it every year. They sent me also some of this fogging oil, and I'm going to do that to the dirt bike, mainly because it is not going to be started until springtime. So it's going to sit, and I'll explain this a little bit more when I do it. I don't do that to my lawnmower, because I do start that periodically throughout the winter. So I don't use the fogging oil on my lawnmower, but I'm going to use it on this dirt bike. You can see you can get the fuel stabilizer in all different sizes here, depending on how much equipment you use or how much fuel you treat. This will treat 10 gallons, this will treat 25, and this will treat 40 gallons. I like this big one here, mainly because it's got a little measurement tool here, and it's really easy to use. You just pull this cap off here, you squeeze the bottle, and it's got measurements here. You can't see it on camera, but there's measurements, and then all you do is dump it in your tank, your fuel tank or whatever. Real easy to get the measurement right with this bottle. Also, they sent me out some of this stuff. I didn't even know they made it, but I'm going to give this a try. Not in this video, it'll be another video, but I'm going to try this. They call it rust stopper. So, stops rust from spreading, lubricates, water resistant. So, well, I'll be giving that stuff a try later on. So stay tuned for that video, guys. Okay, so why do you put stabilizer in the fuel? Well, fuel will break down over time. It gums up, turns to varnish, and all that stuff is really bad for the carburetor and the bottom of your fuel tank and everything. And with today's fuels, with the ethanol in it, I guess it's even worse. The fuel, I guess from what I've heard, 2 months and it can start going bad on you. So that is why you treat the fuel with the stabilizer. This will keep your fuel good for 24 months. So that's 2 years of protection. Okay, so one other thing to note is you want to start out with fresh fuel here. You're not going to add the stabilizer to old fuel and turn it new. You want to start out with some fresh fuel so the stabilizer can actually work. It will not turn bad gas into good gas. So one thing that I like to do here is I will get a can of fuel, and I know exactly how much fuel is in that can. That's a 2.5 gallon can. That's 1 ounce of the fuel stabilizer. I just dump 1 ounce in this can, and all the fuel in that can is treated. Then I just pour the fuel into the fuel tank, and voila, we've got treated fuel in the tank. Now, if you don't know how much fuel is in your tank, you're going to have to find out. They recommend that you run or you fill your tank up 95% full. What that's going to do is that's going to help stop moisture from forming inside the fuel tank. You know, if you got a plastic fuel tank, it's not so important, but it's kind of important when you got a steel tank, especially with this older bike. That is a steel fuel tank. So moisture in there is not a good thing. So we got fresh fuel, fresh stabilized fuel in the tank. I'm going to go ahead and check the oil on this, and then we're going to fire this thing up and we're going to let it run for 5 minutes. Now you do that so you get the stabilized fuel into the carburetor and into all the places that it needs to be. If you just stopped right here and you didn't fire it up, the stabilized fuel would not get into the carburetor, so all the fuel in the carburetor will start to break down and gum up, and that would be very bad. So I'm going to start this up, let it run for 5 minutes. Okay, so there's 5 minutes, and now we're going to go on to the fogging. Okay, so now comes the fogging oil. Now normally you would use this after 4 minutes of running. You do this the last minute of your run time. I'm doing a video trying to show you guys how to do this, so I'm doing this a little different. First off, you have to pull off your air cleaner. This has got a nut right here, and then it comes up and comes off, and I've got oil on this. Okay, here's the air cleaner on here, and I've got to loosen up the clamp here. Okay, so there's another bolt back here that's got to be took off. Okay, so now the assembly should come off. It just pops off the carburetor there. Now, here's where you're going to shoot the fogging oil into the carburetor, right into the carburetor while it's running. Okay, so that's all there is to it. I had to increase the idle on this bike so it wouldn't die, and I had to go in kind of short spurts so it wouldn't kill it. You know you have good protection when you start having a little smoke coming out the exhaust, a little white smoke. You'll know you have really good protection in the top end of the motor. The final step in the fogging procedure is to pull the spark plug out. You'll hook this little straw up to your can. You just spray a few seconds right into the cylinder there. Reason for this fogging oil is to get a good coating of oil on the top of the cylinder walls, also the valves and stuff. And what that's going to do is that it's going to keep rust from forming on all those parts. That can be very bad for a motor, especially if it's just going to sit. And like this bike, it is in a shed, but it's not in a temperature controlled shed. So when there are sharp swings in temperature, you're going to get moisture forming everywhere, the inside of motors and everything. So it's a really good idea if you're not going to start something for a very long time, use the fogging oil. So I'm going to get the spark plug out. I'm going to spray in there for a few seconds, and this bike will be ready for storage. Probably going to lube up my chain quick. If you do this procedure to your dirt bikes, lawnmowers, snowmobiles, snow blowers, ATVs, weed eaters, whatever you're going to store for long term, you use the STABIL products and you are going to be a lot happier next spring when they fire right up, and they're not going to cause trouble. You ain't got to take your carburetor apart in a couple years because it's all gummed up. So that's going to do it for this one, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed it. I'll see you in the next one.